Master here. It's my second attempt at making this video. And my friend sent me this a couple weeks ago. It's a very smug, arrogant article by this Maxwell Strachan for Huffington Post. Americans finally like hip-hop and R&B more than rock and roll. Took you guys long enough. So, the first thing I'm getting from this article, and this is kind of a follow-up to my video about Secular Talk's video about the same subject, is that this guy has a stick up his ass about rock and roll, and he is really into hip-hop and R&B, which are two separate, disparate types of music that do cross over, but they are two separate types of music. It's like saying metal and punk, you know? So, anyways, the second thing I noticed about this article is two of the most corporate mainstream artists are represented by the pictures. So you have Drake. I tried to listen to like 2 Drake songs. I'm just like, my God, this is really just fucking like, this type of music used to be good, but this is just the shittiest fucking most simplistic minimalist bullshit I've ever heard. And don't get me started on Nickelback. You know, it's a pile of shit, of course. Corporate rock. So he says, blah, blah, blah. Most dominant musical genre. Rock for the first time on streaming. So the funny thing about this is, so he's saying that online streaming has overcome rock and all this shit. So one thing that's misleading, though, is how he says that. And then you look at rock, you have 40.1% album sales compared to 17%. Streams, of course, they're higher. But the sales, look at the fucking sales. So albums are still selling in rock, and you have these rap hip-hop, or R&B hip-hop, and pop. I don't know how they differentiate between these two, because these are the same thing as far as the style of rap and R&B they're talking about is pop. So I don't know how the hell this Nielsen measures this shit. Okay, so I'm going to read this article a little bit for you. Might have taken a decade or 4, but hip-hop and R&B finally reigned supreme in the U.S. Together, they now comprise the dominant musical genre, beating out rock for the first time. Wank, wank, wank. I'm so happy about it. So, I think this article is a fucking pile of shit. And then he concludes, so yeah, rock could come back by the end of the year. But let's be honest, probably not. Clap, clap. He doesn't say clap, clap. So, this is my problem. First of all, he presents a false dichotomy. He's talking about Drake. Drake is pop. And Nickelback, which is pop. Of course, different styles of pop that are the lowest common denominator of music. People that are not really that into music, like, well, I'm not going to generalize, but Nickelback may be worse because they're such a running joke. And Drake, I've listened to that shit. It was just fucking terrible. Sorry. There's a lot of better shit like that, you know? So I think there's this phenomenon where people truly believe that they're better because they're attacking rock and roll, which is this old white guy music. What they don't understand, of course, is that it's bullshit. That's not true. It's not true. And they're on this smug little fucking pedestal because they think that somehow rock is a conservative style of music like country is or something. I don't really get it totally, but it's bullshit. Rock and roll has always been, or not always been, but, you know, for at least its first 20 or 30 years, anti-establishment and conservative to some extent, at least socially. And to have these little, presuppositions and these little fucking snarky, like, kind of opinions, it's completely ignoring history. White people took it over. You know, they took it over and they took it to new directions, but it is a African American derived style of music. Rock and roll is, period. And Not to mention, I think I mentioned this in my last video about the secular talk thing. Rock and R&B were two peas in the same pod pretty much for much of the early 60s. There were bands that said they played R&B, but it was rock. But there were bands that say they played rock, and then people would say it's R&B. It's like, it's the same fucking thing. Of course, over time, they became separated. So the whole point, I'm going to do more videos on this, is that, yes, maybe a lot of people like pop music, as they always have, and a lot of it's shit. Some of it's good. Are people going to remember Drake 20 years from now? I don't know. They might remember Drake and not remember Kanye West or whatever, you know? They might remember Future. I think this is probably better. I don't know much about Future, but I get a feeling from the name and what I've read, it's probably better than most of this list. Drake, Migos, Kendrick Lamar. I don't give a fuck. I like what I like. I feel the need to defend it against fucking smug douchebags like this guy. But I feel like people don't really understand the history and really understand what exactly is going on with all this shit. So the whole point of this video is, you know, you're going to see articles like this once in a while, and it's going to be infuriating. I can't talk today. And it's going to piss me off because it's like, well, my bread and butter is rock and metal, and that's what it is. Do I have to feel guilty about it? Do I have to, you know, have this token fucking music that I listen to? That's kind of what's going on with some of these guys. I know it is, at least on some level. This token style of music. It's like the token black character. You know, they don't, and, you know, anybody that doesn't want me to talk about this shit can fuck right off, including people that, you know, don't want me to talk about this shit. People want to have this attitude that it's more liberal to listen to rap and R&B. It's bullshit. Rock and roll is no more, you know, nowadays it's no more liberal or conservative than rap and R&B. I mean, Kanye West met with fucking Trump, for Christ's sake. How could you even believe that bullshit? Of course, yes, it is good that people are more tolerant. But at the same time, it's like, if they're more tolerant, but they have to fucking bash on rock. Well, maybe, you know, Chad Kroeger does deserve some bashing. But, maybe not literally, but, you know, it's just such a stupid dichotomy that this presents. Listen to whatever the fuck you like. Who cares about some corporate bullshit that Nielsen, oh my God. So, because Huffington Post is telling me that it's good to listen to rap and R&B, I'm going to listen to the most popular corporate auto-tuned versions of that, not check out the underground that's probably far superior times 10. And then I'm supposed to stay away from Nickelback because that's the representative rock. Not Jim Morrison, not John Lennon, you know, not even Prince, who actually, you know, let's face it, he's rock in many ways, or was rock. Oh, no Jimi Hendrix, no Rolling Stones, you know, fuck all that, man. Drake is where it's at. Yeah, that's so much better because Chad Kroeger probably, or Nickelback, or all those other bands I mentioned probably sound like Nickelback, right? Oh, go fuck yourself, man. Fuck you. This guy, I just fuck off, you know? So that's all I got to say. I'm going to do another video probably the next couple days about this, or maybe in the next week or two. And feel free to comment or subscribe, maybe, please. Please, and click on the ads and shit. Even though I don't know if the swearing will do any ads on this video, but I made my case, and I'm going to do more videos. My next one about this is going to be called Is Rock Dead? And it's going to be a fully written out thesis. So I will see you soon. Have a good night.